Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. I am doing this on Friday evening because I am going to pass out for the week because I'm tired. I'm sick. Um, not feeling well, so I'll knock this out real quick. So we're gonna start with Spy, like we always do. Just for a while, I wasn't doing it. I was forgetting Spy, and Spy is Bay. Anyway, let us remember that we only have about 1 week left of the month. Um, the month actually ends on the following Monday. So we have next week and then that following Monday to finish the month. So right now we have taken out last month's low and have come back up. This is not really, I doubt that we can 50% rule on the month. I mean, it would have to be something crazy, but you know, SPY has known to do some crazy things, and the craziest rallies happen in bear markets. So we could somehow do an outside month here. Quarter wise, we're still, we took out the last quarter, so we're still coming back up. Um, and for the week, we printed a nice hammer here. So we hit two up and then came back in, and it was just bouncing. But this range, this 360, has held for the most part. And if you notice, we have been in the same range for about 4 weeks now. It's been kind of choppy. It's just same range. So now let's look at this on the day because there's a couple things I wanted to point out. If you watched the last video, then we spoke about how this area back here in June looks really similar to where we are now. Okay. And I wanted to point out that, basically it did the same thing here. It chopped around, kind of ironed this price out, and then it took off. Not saying that this would take off, but it can. And another reason to support that is that we have an inverse head and shoulders on the day. We have a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder. This could still iron out to be a little bit more of a shoulder. Like this is a whole shoulder here. This is like 6 days worth of a shoulder. It could do the same thing over here. So I also want to point out that it broke out of this smaller downtrend and it's making its way towards this larger downtrend. So if it does break up, the first resistance I have for here is this 376. And then of course this downtrend resistance is like right at 380. Broadening formation would give us like 382 at 383. So if it decides, for this hammer to go in force, it could actually finish what it was trying to do here with this 2 up and go to this 380 and then, possibly keep moving. Also on the 2-week chart, I just want to notice that's also a hammer, so that can go up. So, and also keeping in mind that we still have full time frame continuity right here. So, everything is still looking green. So that is SPY. All right, QQQ we have is similar. We have a downtrend here that is right at the top of. We still have a gap here that has not been filled. So if it decides it wants to break out with everything else, don't forget Apple has earnings on, I believe it's Wednesday. Microsoft is Tuesday. So if Microsoft decides to go, this could go and fill this gap. So this, of course, is my first resistance. This target here at 277, and then we can target the gap at 279, 280, and then 285 would be my next targets to the upside. And again, we do have the shoulder, head, shoulder. It could still make a shoulder. It could also reject, and boom. Because remember, we are at the top of this downtrend resistance, and even though we were bullish, we are still in a bear market. So, oh wait, wanted to look at it on the week because we don't just look at the day. We don't have a hammer kind of like SPY, but it's a green 2 up. So just keeping that in mind, on the 2-week we do have a hammer though. So if you want to use the 2-week as a trigger because we have a new 2-week candle starting tomorrow, then that will work. So IWM. Now, as you can see, we took out. Oh, this is on the 2-week chart. Oops. So, we have TTO'd. I mean, this just barely took out these people back here in June. So that actually is a good candidate to go back to the top of this broadening formation. Ironed out this price a little bit. This must be daily. Yeah, so looking at it on the daily, yeah, it broke out of the smaller downtrend, the larger downtrend. I'll show y'all really quickly. Oh, that is wrong. Oh no, that is right. Because it's like, yeah, well, not really. So yeah, it's trying to break out. On this daily, we have barely have an inverse head and shoulders. I mean, this lower low here kind of does give it to you, but it's not as strong as SPY, but it just didn't fall as much as SPY at the same time. So next is XLE. And you know energy has been strong. I am showing XLE just because we've been watching ZOM and Oxy. So instead of just doing those, you might as well, or I'd look at XLE to just kind of get a sense of what energy is doing. So for the month, we're still in force on the month. We've taken them out. It's going for that. 3-2 hammer on the 2-week chart. And right at the top of this broadening formation. So interesting to see what this will do, if this will push through. On the day, big O W. Shorter term. Yeah, we're at the top of this broadening formation. So just kind of have to see what this does. Looks like it may be time for energy to take a rest. We thought it was with this PMG it had, and it didn't quite. It just kind of retraced a little bit and kept going. So keep your eye on energy. Full time frame continuity is green. For the VIX. So keeping in mind that SPY has an inverse head and shoulders on the day, right? Which is bullish. The VIX doesn't have a head and shoulders here. But what you can see here is that from here it made a high, right? Came down, made a lower high, and came back down. And if you've watched my previous videos, we talk about that a lot. If it cannot take these folks out and it comes back down, then that's weak. So if the VIX is to continue to fall, then that will have SPY, that inverse head and shoulders on SPY will play out and the market should be bullish. So just keeping that in mind on what it looks like for the day. And for the month, we're still inside. So still inside quarter as well. If I'm not mistaken, though, the last week of October is usually bullish, though, till we get up into midterm elections. All right, and Apple was on fire today. So as you can see, Apple has broken out of its downtrend resistance. The channel that it was in, that it couldn't really break out of, it has basically broken. So just like SPY, we have a nice strong ending to the week. It did the 2 up. So just have to see if the bulls can continue to keep this going. Earnings could send this to make this an outside month. But just keep it in mind where we are. For the year, the outside year is still 149. So we could do just like we did last time in June, because we triggered it and then we came right back up. So, you know, just have to see what happens here. So that's Apple. Microsoft, the same thing. We got a shoulder, head, shoulder on the day, and we've broken out of the downtrend resistance. Remember that Apple and Microsoft move SPY and the Qs. So if these are going to go, then SPY and the Qs will go. This will be their earnings next week will really tell that. So just a couple of things I just wanted to point out on Walmart and McDonald's. And I'm sorry, y'all, I didn't have my stuff on here. Put it back. Okay. So Walmart, barely, but notice here, this is the 200 MA. And I always talk to y'all about knowing when things are bullish, when they cross above it and hold it, and hold. It closed above the 200 MA. Granted, the last few times that it's done that, it's definitely retraced. And it made the broadening formation bigger, as you can see here. Higher low, lower low, lower low. TTO'd them out, and then it came back up. So now we're looking to see if it can take these folks out and make a higher high on the day. Then I also want to point out that Walmart does have a gap up here at 146. So been watching Walmart for a while because I was bearish on it. And then I was like kind of switching back and forth and playing what it was giving me. But I really wanted to point out that it closed above that 200. Same thing for McDonald's, much stronger, but closed above this 200 on the day. And so that's a really good sign. Now, if you look at this could be the head of a shoulder. So it may need to, it's definitely moved. So it may need to do a little retracement and make a little bit of shoulder over here. But then if it does, it can keep going, especially if we decide we want to be bullish. And snow, it's a hammer on the day. We've been watching snow, so I just wanted to show you guys also the hammer on the 2 week. So if this decides to go 179.74, maybe another $10 run or so, but this will need some time. So QCOM, we have been watching. Kiki mentioned it last week, and it actually was a great play. Congratulations to anyone that took it. And so this week it didn't really do much, but it ended as a hammer with a nice range. So I just wanted to point it out. Inside week with the hammer. We also talked about ZS last week. Inside week, not necessarily a hammer, but something to notice. And then I want to talk about TQQQ. This is just a little hack for a cheaper, smaller contract. Smaller accounts. Small accounts, if you want to play SPY, play TQQQ. It moves the same. Look at this daily on SPY and look at the daily on QQQ. Look at the 1 hour on TQQQ, let me say. And look at the 1 hour on SPY. It moves exactly the same. And it's cheaper. So you can be watching SPY, charting SPY, and playing TQQ in the same direction because it moves exactly the same. For cheaper contracts, this is something you would load up at the money and play. So, if you were playing this 312 up, you want to play the, maybe not the 1950, but the $20 call. You want to be like in the money as soon as possible. And so this is a better way also to play 0-day contracts versus playing, the risky with the theta on SPX. You can do TQQQ. Okay. And then the opposite of SPY. So if, say, you're not really good with playing puts and you want to play calls, I've mentioned this before because we've talked about this in one of our study sessions, but SQQQ is the inverse. So you can play this to the upside or downside to the opposite of SPY. And the same thing with UVXY. Oh Lord. UVXY is a little bit smaller. But again, it's for cheaper contracts, smaller accounts. This is something that you can play. So, monthly setups. Basically, everything's coming back in. There's not really anything to go over. Oxy is back good, so keep an eye on that for next week. And still going. Coin's still doing nothing. Same with Starbucks. We talked about Walmart. And Airbnb still not doing a thing. So that is all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoy your weekend.